Alright, I'm going to throw a die to get us started. I roll a 1, which means my location will be discarded, but I get to go first. So our locations this game from left to right are going to be Zon Warrens, which allows the player that conquers it to discard a card, then draw a card. Targon's Peak, which allows the player that conquers it to restand 2 runes at the end of that turn. And finally, we have Sigil of the Storm, which forces the player that conquers it to recycle a rune. Now, while everyone is deciding their mulligans, I do just want to give a disclaimer that Project K is a new game to all of us, and you will see a lot of misplays and a lot of accidental cheating. I will do my best to point out any incorrect rules during the video so we don't spread any misinformation. Now, getting to the mulligans, Zach on Victor is going to keep all 4. Jameson on Jinx is going to mulligan 2. Stafford on Yasuo is going to keep all 4. And then Cassidy on Volibear is going to mulligan 3. Now it's just about time for us to get started. So if you have any corrections or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Since I'm going first, I do not draw for turn. I get 2 mental runes, activate Victor's legend ability to create a recruit, and then I pass the turn. Jameson starts his turn by drawing and will get 2 fury runes. He will pay both of those to play a traveling merchant. Now Stafford will get 2 chaotic runes to start his turn. He will then spend both of those to play another traveling merchant. Cassidy for turn gets 2 fury runes. She will then pay both of those to play a Legion Rearguard and pass. Now for my turn, I get 2 order runes. I will then float 1 energy and play a Seal of Unity, recycling one of those order runes. I will then use the floating energy and my other 3 to play Victor. I will then move the recruit to Targon's Peak and score. Now for Jameson's turn, he gets 1 chaotic rune and 1 fury rune. He will then pay 4 to play the Brazen Buccaneer, which allows you to discard 1 card to reduce its cost by 2. He discards a Legion Rearguard, and then he will move his Traveling Merchant into the Zon Warrens. The Traveling Merchant's ability, when it moves, he will discard 1 and then draw 1, and then for conquering Zon Warrens, he will also discard and draw again. He will then recycle 1 to play the Seal of Discord and pass. Now Stafford will get 2 Calm runes to start his turn. He will then move the Traveling Merchant into Targon's Peak. This will trigger the Merchant's ability, forcing him to discard 1 and draw 1. The Merchant will then kill the Recruit, and Stafford will conquer Targon's Peak. He will now pay 3 to play Wielder of Water. He will then recycle 1 Calm rune to play Seal of Calm. For Cassidy's turn, she gets 2 physical runes. She now pays 4 to play a Catalyst of Aeons, which allows her to get 2 more runes exhausted. She will then move the Legion Rearguard to the Sigil of the Storm, causing her to recycle 1 and score a point. She will then pass the turn. On my turn, I get 2 more Order runes. I will then just pay 4 to play another Victor and pass the turn. Jameson will score a hold point at Zon Warrens. He will then get a Fury rune and a Chaotic rune. He will retreat the Traveling Merchant, getting its ability to discard a card and then draw a card. He will now move his Brazen Buccaneer into Targon's Peak to fight the Traveling Merchant, killing it, scoring him another point. He will then play another Brazen Buccaneer by discarding a Brazen Buccaneer. He will then pass the turn. For Stafford's turn, he gets 2 Chaotic runes, and then he will move his Wielder of Water into the Zon Warrens, forcing him to discard 1 and draw 1. He will then pass the turn. For Cassie's turn, she gets 2 physical runes, that she then pays 5 for Misfortune, and then she will activate her Volibear's ability, getting another rune exhausted. She will then pass the turn. For my turn, I get 2 more Order runes, and I will go ahead and play a 3rd Victor. I then go ahead and activate my Victor Leader ability, creating a recruit, and then I pass the turn. On Jameson's turn, he will draw an extra card due to Jinx's legend ability. He will then get a Chaotic rune and a Fury rune. He will then pay 2, recycling 1 to play Vi. He will then play a Nox's Hopeful and then gust the Wielder of Water back to Stafford's hand. Jameson will then move his Traveling Merchant into the Zon Warrens, triggering 2 discard 1, draw 1 effects, one from the Merchant and one from conquering the Zon Warrens. He will also score a point. He will then move the Brazen Buccaneer in to kill the Legion Rearguard at the Sigil of the Storm, scoring another point for this turn. He will finish up his turn by playing another Traveling Merchant and moving the Brazen Buccaneer back to his base. For Stafford's turn, he starts with 2 more Calm Runes. He will then float the energy from 1 Calm Rune and recycle it for a Seal of Calm. He will then go ahead and pay 6 to play his partner Yasuo, paying the 2 power with his seals. For Cassidy's turn, she's going to get 2 physical runes. She will then play a Stormclaw Ursine, using her Volibear's Leader ability to get a rune exhausted and another one from the Ursine. She will then move the Misfortune into Targon's Peak, scoring a point, readying the Ursine, then move the Ursine into the Sigil of the Storm, killing the Brazen Buccaneer and scoring another point. She will then have to recycle 1 for the Sigil of the Storm. For my turn, I'm going to get another 2 mental runes. Then I will pay 6, recycling 1 to play the Wraith of Echoes. I will then move the Recruit into the Zon Warren to let it die to the Traveling Merchant, letting me draw from the Wraith of Echoes. Then I will play a Faithful Manufacturer, which I unfortunately thought was a Vanguard Captain, so I accidentally make 1 extra Recruit here, but it doesn't change much. On Jameson's turn, he'll draw an extra card because of his Jinx. He will then get 2 Chaotic Runes per turn. Now he activates Vi's effect to recycle 8, pumping her to 11, then pushing 13 Might to the Sigil of the Storm. He will then discard 1 and draw 1 for the Traveling Merchant's effect, then he will pay 1 to bring the Flame Chompers back. When he wins that fight, he will gain a point, but because he can't win there, he will draw a card instead. After he draws that card, he will retreat the Traveling Merchant from the Zon Warrens. This will once again trigger a discard, then a draw. Now he is going to move the Nox's Hopeful and the Brazen Buccaneer to fight the Misfortune at Targon's Peak. Cassidy is going to respond with a challenge, having the Misfortune deal 5 to the Hopeful. Jameson will bounce the Hopeful with Gust to save it, then the Buccaneer and Misfortune will kill each other, rendering no point and stopping Jameson from winning the game. He will then spend the rest of his turn playing out a Nox's Hopeful, a Flame Chompers, and a Seal of Fury. Now for Stafford's turn, he gets 2 Calm Runes. He will then play a Misfortune to Targon's Peak, because the Misfortune is able to be played at opened locations. With the Misfortune's effect, he's also able to play the Wielder of Water at an open location, discarding 1 and drawing 1. He will then move the Yasuo into the Sigil of the Storm. With Yasuo's effect, he kills the Vi, and then in combat, he kills the Traveling Merchant, then he recycles 1 for conquering the Sigil of the Storm. After readying 2 runes for Targon's Peak, he passes it to Cassidy, who gets a physical rune and a fury rune. She will then pay 5 for the Carnivorous Snapvine, and then she will activate Volibear's effect to return a rune exhausted to the board. She will then have the Wielder of Water and the Snapvine deal damage to each other, killing the Wielder of Water. She will then activate a Stormbringer, having the Snapvine deal its might to the Yasuo, and then move into the Yasuo's location, scoring her a point. She will then pass the turn. Then I will get 2 mental runes. Now I'm going to send a recruit to the Zon Warren so that I may discard 1 and draw 1. After a little deliberation, I choose to discard Unchecked Power because playing a board wipe would hand Jameson the game. I will then play my Cruel Patron, having it kill the Faithful Manufacturer. When it kills the Faithful Manufacturer, I'm going to draw 1 from the Wraith of Echoes, and then I will create 3 recruits with my 3 Victor effects on board. After doing that, I'm going to play a Vanguard Captain onto the Zon Warrens, and with its Legion effect, I'll get to create 2 recruits at that location as well. And then I pass to Jameson. He will draw twice due to his Jinx's effect. He will then get a Fury rune and a Chaotic rune. He will now play his partner Jinx. Then he will move the Traveling Merchant into the Zon Warrens, which will cause him to discard 1 and draw 1, which will allow him to ready his Jinx and give it a +1. Then he will also get to kill 2 of my recruits, and I will kill back the Traveling Merchant. He is now going to move 1 of his Flame Chompers and the Noxus Hopeful into Targon's Peak to fight the Misfortune. Stafford responds with Steel Tempest, riding Misfortune and killing the Flame Chompers, and then Misfortune kills off the Noxus Hopeful in combat. He will then pass the turn. For Stafford's turn, he will get 2 Chaotic Runes, and then he will play a Cane, and then move the Misfortune back to his base after recycling 1 Chaotic Rune for his Cane that he played. He's then going to pass the turn to Cassidy. For Cassidy's turn, she gets 2 physical runes. She then plays her Blazing Scorcher, recycling 1 and paying 1 extra to accelerate it. She will then activate Volibear's ability, allowing her to put a rune on the board rested. She will then move the Blazing Scorcher into Targon's Peak so that she may score and go to 7. She will then ready 2 at the end and pass to me. On my turn, I get an Order and a Mental Rune that I will then play Cull. Cull causes each player to sacrifice a unit. Jameson sacrifices a Flame Chompers, Stafford sacrifices his Misfortune, I sacrifice a Faithful Manufacturer, and Cassidy will sacrifice her Blazing Scorcher. I will then draw a card because I had a unit die. I will then move a recruit into Targon's Peak and play a Faithful Manufacturer at Zon Warrens. Somehow I completely forget to pay my mana for the Faithful Manufacturer. Luckily it does not matter, I do not spend that mana this turn. I then finish my turn by playing a Watchful Sentry at Targon's Peak. For Jameson's turn, he's going to draw an extra card because of his Jinx's ability. He then gets a Chaotic Rune and a Fury Rune. He then pays 2 for a Chemtech Enforcer, causing him to discard a card and buffing his Jinx by 1 might. He will then play a Vi. He will now have the Jinx move to the Targon's Peak to fight my recruit and Watchful Sentry. I let the Sentry and the recruit die, allowing me to draw 2 cards and create 3 recruits. Jameson will draw a card because he scored a point but is not able to win the game yet. He will then play a Seal of Fury and pass his turn. On Stafford's turn, he gets 2 Mental Runes. He then pays 4 for a Stealthy Pursuer. He will now use Yasuo's Legend ability to move Kayn into Targon's Peak, fighting the Jinx. He will kill the Jinx 6-5 and going to 6 points. He will then use Ganking to move over to Zon Warren because the second time Kayn moves, he's immune to damage. So instead, I'm going to use the Hidden Blade card and kill the Kayn outright, allowing Stafford to draw 2, because Kayn is immune to damage, but not indestructible. Stafford will then ready 2 for taking Targon's Peak and pass the turn. For her turn, Cassidy is going to get a Fury Rune and a Physical Rune. She will then play Deadwound Predator to the Sigil of the Storm and pass the turn. For my turn, I will move a Wraith of Echoes and 5 recruits into Sigil of the Storm, and then I will play a Siphon Power, giving all of my units +1 and hers -1. She will then play a Challenge, having her Deadwound Predator fight my Wraith of Echoes. Right now, her Deadwound Predator is a 7, and my Wraith of Echoes is a 6. So I will respond with another Siphon Power, making her Deadbloom a 6 and my Wraith of Echoes a 7. So now my Wraith of Echoes will kill the Deadbloom and survive, but then the Snapvine will kill the Wraith of Echoes and one of the recruits because the recruits are now 3 might. I will then move 4 recruits and all 3 victors into Targon's Peak, which will put me to 7 points, and I will then pass the turn. Jameson will draw 2 for his Jinx's ability, and now they're going to try and get me off of all 3 locations or I will win the game. Jameson is now going to play Legion Rearguard, paying the extra for Assault. He then recycles his entire graveyard and moves the Vi, Legion Rearguard, and Chemtech Enforcer in for 19 power. Now, because I only have 12 power there, I am going to activate Siphon Power, but he will rebuke my Cruel Patron, winning the fight, killing all of my units, and I will kill the 2 units that are not Vi. So since Jameson can't win from that point, he will get a draw, and then he will get a discard for taking the Zon Warrens, and then he will pass the turn. For Stafford's turn, he plays Yasuo. He then uses his Yasuo leader ability to move his Yasuo into Sigil of the Storm. This will then kill all 4 of my units there. He will then draw a card because at that point cannot win him the game. He'll move the Stealthy Pursuer into Targon's Peak, killing off 4 of my recruits. Now for Cassidy's turn, she's going to get 2 physical runes. She will then play a Kadrigan the Infernal, but at this point everyone realizes she is not going to be able to clear my victors from Targon's Peak, and that's the game. Hope everyone enjoyed.